People have been reacting to the Houston government announcing it will not proclaim the Coastal Protection Act. It has been passed with all party support back in 2019, but the government has now killed it, instead directing communities to online maps and other tools to make their own decisions about safe places to build. Nancy Anningson is with the Ecology Action Centre. She's been watching this file for some time with the provincial government. I know that working as an independent person here, you're looking at this through a different set of eyes. Government thinks it's doing the right thing. Why do you think this is happening?
I think the government has taken the easy route, and along the way they've actually thrown half a decade of expensive work into a garbage can. I want my taxpayer dollars back. They have decided that voters may not like them actually showing leadership along our coastline and putting proper regulations in place to stop us from doing dangerous things, and they're opting out by providing a little bow with a ribbon on top of things that mostly already existed. I'm sure they're in one place and people can go to the one place, but tools that are not useful, and they're making safe building along our coastline optional.
Well, what about those tools? Because that's what the provincial government is pointing to, saying there is lots of information out there for property owners to make wise and sound decisions about what they do with their coastal properties.
Most of that information already existed. It's not whether or not people are making good decisions. It's that there are folks who want to build along the coastline in a way that's not reasonable and sustainable, and we need a government that's going to show true leadership and say, no, you can't do that. You have to build on the part of your property that's safe, and the regulations that were ready a year ago actually gave them a tool to do that, gave them a way of assessing a property to say, if you build here, it's okay. If you build here, it is not okay, and you're not allowed to do that. And they just disposed of it. They decided not to do it. So,
property owners may listen to this and say, well, I'd like to do what I think is best for my own coastal property, and I'm glad that the government went this route, and they consulted with a lot of people, and maybe this is ultimately what people along the coast wanted. What would you say to that kind of an argument?
I know the hundreds of people who are currently calling and emailing the EAC, who are the same people who submitted those missing emails that went into the government junk folder last year. They don't want that. They want safe, responsible development along our coastline. And so for the government to take the easy path and say, we're not going to shake the boat, we're not going to do what we said we were going to do, we're not going to lead on this issue, we're going to hand it back to the municipalities, it's deja vu. They were there back in 2016, 2017. They were struggling. They couldn't do it. They need development dollars to fund their municipal budgets. We needed leadership on this, and unfortunately we haven't had that.
So you mentioned the municipalities there. It does fall back to them now to sort of decide what happens in the coastal regions of their parts of the province. What kind of an onus does that put on the municipalities? What kind of weight does that put on them?
Well, number one, it's made it optional. Even the land use bylaw examples that they're going to provide, they're not saying, here are the tools for you to have, please implement these. They're saying, here's a little basket of things you can draw from. Some of those municipalities were actually working on vertical allowances, horizontal setbacks, back when the act was announced and as the work continued, and stopped their work. Like, they were already ahead of the game, and you stopped them. You said you were going to lead in this way, and now you're like, nah, sorry, we decided not to. And here's some useful things for you to draw from if you want to.
And I'm imagining a bit of a patchwork then if one municipality decides to go one way, vertical allowances, for example, or distances back from the shore at which you're allowed to build, and maybe the next municipality or the next county does not.
Exactly.
So what impact does that have on what is one coastline around Nova Scotia?
Well, that was the problem that was identified way back when the McNeil government said we need to do something about this. It was a piecemeal. We have, I think it's 54 municipalities, and a handful of them don't have coastline. All the rest, some were in great shape. They had really good tools, so they had trouble with enforcement. Some had no setbacks and were allowing development in really dangerous places, and things were flooding and people were at risk. And that was the problem that was identified so long ago. And Houston's government bought into it. The act got royal assent in 2019. Houston was there. He voted yes. He also, when he got elected in 2021, agreed to continue this work. And they've spent our tax dollars to create something that was ready to go last year, and now all of a sudden they have cold feet and they're opting out of leadership on the issue.
So this piece of legislation is dead now. What happens? Is this issue gone?
issue just took a terrible turn. We are right back to where we were 7 years ago, and we have no leadership on coastal protection. We're going to continue to see, I'm going to have to start offering tours, driving around our coastline, showing people incredibly dangerous places, and after storms and disasters, showing the risky things that have happened to our citizens, the septic that is poured out into our healthy bays. We have no leadership on this, and we're back to a terrible, terrible place.
We'll leave it there. Nancy Anningson, thank you very much.
Thank you.